When you're drowning in debt, that financial pressure, it's just relentless. It feels like this constant weight on your mind. And right in that moment of desperation, a voice on the phone promising a way out, it can sound like an absolute miracle. But today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a system that's designed to turn that hope into a financial trap. Let's get into the forensic breakdown of the fake debt relief scam. And think about that for a second, because this really gets to the heart of the whole deception. The real danger isn't the creditor you already know about. It's the self-proclaimed savior you don't. This person, this so-called advocate, uses your hope for a fresh start as the very tool to pull you under. It's a devastating paradox. The person who sounds like your rescuer is actually the architect of your financial ruin. So how in the world do they do it? Well, we're going to deconstruct this whole thing piece by piece. First, we'll look at the savior who sinks you. Then we'll get into the scarcity brain trap, the fee extraction machine, the psychology of control, and finally, the institutional shield, which is your blueprint for defense. All right, let's start at the very beginning, that first contact, the moment the trap is actually set. We're going to unmask the promise they make, which, let me tell you, is not just a simple lie. It's a carefully crafted story designed to prey on one of our most powerful emotions, hope. And this is the key concept right here, scarcity exploitation. Look, this isn't just about someone tricking you out of a few $100. This is a calculated system. It's designed to find people who are under immense financial stress, that state of scarcity, and then it leverages that distress against them. The promise of a clean slate feels so good that it becomes an anchor, holding you right in place while they drain whatever resources you have left. And this is just so true, isn't it? It really hits home. I mean, when the collection calls are nonstop, when you just don't see a way out, you're not looking for the fine print. You're looking for an escape. The relief of just hearing someone say, "We can fix this," is so profound that it literally overrides the part of your brain that would normally say, "Hang on, let me read the terms and conditions." This is the foundation the entire scam is built on. Okay, so now let's get into the biology of it. Why do smart people fall for these scams? It has way less to do with intelligence and everything to do with the neurochemistry of panic. The scam literally weaponizes the way our brains respond to extreme stress. Think of this like a biological switch. Under normal circumstances, your logical brain is at the wheel. You're weighing options, you're doing your research, you're thinking about the future, but under the intense pressure of, say, potential bankruptcy or foreclosure, the scarcity brain takes over. It's a survival mechanism. It narrows your focus, it's a phenomenon called attentional narrowing, to just one thing, stop the immediate pain. Long-term consequences, they just fade away. Your trust is heightened because you desperately need the person on the phone to be telling the truth. You're not driving the car anymore, your survival instinct is. So your brain is in survival mode. And what do the scammers do? They pull out a classic psychological tool, authority bias. We are all wired to trust people who seem to be in positions of power or expertise. They know this, and they put on this performance of authority that feels incredibly real, especially when our skeptical filters are already down. And this is exactly how they do it. They don't just sound official, they look official. They'll build websites with fake federal approval stamps. They send you these documents that look almost identical to something you'd get from a government agency. This visual deception is incredibly powerful. It gives them this unearned credibility that makes you feel safe, like you're in the hands of a legitimate organization. And finally, they lock you in with the promise of phantom riches. They'll take your huge, insurmountable debt, let's say it's $30,000, and they'll tell you they can settle it for just $10,000. The sheer relief of hearing that number can actually trigger a dopamine response in your brain. It feels like you just won the lottery. And that chemical rush, it effectively short-circuits your skepticism. The offer is just so good, it feels like it has to be real. And just like that, you're hooked. So with that psychological trap all set, the mechanical part of the heist begins. And this isn't random. It is a methodical, step-by-step process designed for one thing and one thing only: extracting fees from you. Just look at this playbook. It's a machine. Step 1, targeting. They actually scrape public records for lawsuits or liens to find people who are already in financial trouble. Step 2, the advocate, a friendly voice who builds trust. Step 3, payment redirection. This is where they tell you to stop paying your creditors. From there, it's a very quick slide into the setup fee siphon, the dedicated account illusion, and finally, concealment and ghosting when the lawsuits inevitably show up. Let's break down the most critical parts. This right here. This is the point of no return. The advocate tells you, hey, to force a settlement, you have to stop paying your credit cards, pay us instead. The moment you agree to this, you've just done two things. You've broken the legal contracts you have with your actual creditors, and you have completely isolated yourself from any legitimate help. You've stepped out of the formal financial system and right into their world, where they control all the information and all your money. And this is where the manipulation flips. Inevitably, because you stopped paying, your bank sues you. You panic. You call your advocate, the one who promised to protect you. And what do they say? Don't worry, this is totally normal. It's all part of the process. In fact, this gives us more leverage. We just need a little more for legal fees to handle it. See what they did? They take the catastrophe that they created and they reframe it as a necessary step, using your fear to extract even more money. This brings us to the psychological choke point. By now, you've already paid them thousands of dollars. You've stopped paying your creditors, you've wrecked your credit, you've invested so much emotionally and financially that the idea of quitting feels like a catastrophic loss. It's a version of the sunk cost fallacy. That belief that I'm too deep into this to quit now is the chain that keeps you locked in their system, even as your savings are vanishing and your situation gets worse every single day. So why doesn't the victim just walk away when things clearly start going wrong? Well, because the system is designed with these powerful psychological levers to keep them compliant and, maybe most importantly, completely isolated. And you can see how these levers work together to create a kind of psychological cage. Loss aversion keeps you focused on that phantom deal of turning 30,000 in debt into 10. Cognitive overload, they just drown you in complex, scary-sounding legal jargon, which makes you feel overwhelmed and dependent on their expertise. They use the promise of discretion against you, exploiting the shame that often comes with debt to make sure you don't talk to a real lawyer or even your family. And finally, the silence window. They explicitly tell you, don't talk to your bank, they'll just try to trick you. They frame the real helpers as the enemy. To maintain this control, they create what's known as a closed loop. They'll send you these regular emails with completely meaningless status updates. Things like, we filed motion 2B with your creditor. Your case file has been advanced to senior review. It all sounds super official, but it's pure theater. It's just a drip feed of hope designed to keep you paying that monthly fee, keeping you inside their closed system, completely cut off from reality. Okay, we've dissected the anatomy of the scam. We understand the psychology, we understand the mechanics. Now, let's pivot. Let's talk about how to make yourself completely immune to this kind of attack. Let's build your shield. So how do you do it? How do you protect yourself and your family from this predatory system? You know, it's not about being smarter than the scammer, it's about having a better system. It's about knowing the rules of engagement before you ever even get on the phone with them. This checklist right here is your blueprint for safety. First, and this is the big one, reject any and all pressure for upfront fees. We'll come back to that. Second, and this is vital, seek out a nonprofit credit counselor from an accredited organization like the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, the NFCC, or the Financial Counseling Association of America, the FCAA. These are vetted professionals who are obligated to help you, not sell you something. Third, use the Creditor Call-Back Rule. If someone claims they have a deal from your bank, hang up and call your bank directly using the number on your statement to verify it. Fourth, use the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's complaint database. Audit the company, see if they have a history of fraud. And finally, never, ever act on a verbal promise. Demand a letter of agreement that details everything. But out of all of these, there is one rule that, if you follow it, makes you virtually invincible to this scam. One simple, unbreakable rule. And that rule is this number: 0. That is the maximum amount of money a debt relief company can legally charge you before they have successfully settled a debt on your behalf. Not one single penny. And this isn't just good advice, this is the law. The Federal Trade Commission's telemarketing sales rule is crystal clear about this. Any company asking for an administrative fee, a setup fee, or a legal retainer up front is breaking the law, and they are running a scam. So your defense can be as simple as asking one question: do I pay you before or after my debt is settled? If the answer isn't after, you hang up the phone. It's that simple. And this really just sums up the stakes. The scam is a masterclass in inversion. They promise you debt freedom, but they deliver deeper debt and lawsuits. They promise a legal shield, but deliver total isolation and fee extraction. They promise you a fresh start, but leave you with a destroyed credit score.
They promise control, but what they deliver is a total loss of your funds.
So let's end with this, a protective mantra that you can use to shield yourself. Fees follow results, they don't lead them. I trust the NFCC, not the advocate. True help doesn't demand payment for a promise. It earns it with a result. And true guidance comes not from some slick salesperson on the phone, but from accredited, nonprofit professionals who are dedicated to your actual financial recovery. Remember that, and you can't be beaten.